screen. Okay. And then we have the service agreement here, which is for dog walking and pet sitting. Okay. So basically, we add a form. It's called service agreement. It's one-time submission. It's not a website-facing one, and it's visible for them to sign it. All right. So now we start creating it, and essentially, is it just for dog walking and pet sitting?
Yeah, dog walking and pet sitting.
So we start building it up. This agreement is entered into by and between something, well, obviously, something client desires to gauge, and it's okay. So that goes to the bottom, and then we have to put in all these clauses.
Okay. So when you put on those clauses, what did you pick? What
Oh, it's just I'm adding sections. It's a section field. See section.
Okay. The section field is do you still need to title it even if
you have to title it, yeah. So I'm making some visual interpretations from that document to the digital. And sometimes people make these checkboxes, but there's no point because they sign at the bottom anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of people have like initial lines next to these different sections.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. It's kind of unnecessary. It just takes longer for the customer to get to the bottom, which is where, and you have to change your business name. Like you got to go in and update this form with your business name.
I'll update all that.
You'll be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
How is does it automatically, like once you have the forms on your website, does it automatically send to the client like once sign up? Or is it something that you have to manually send to them?
They see it on their form. Okay, so there's an exception here. Okay, off leash. So we're going to make that a checkbox because it makes sense.
Why are we making that as a checkbox?
Because sometimes, like this is a case where they may or may not want something in the agreement.
Okay.
So it's like, I do not want my dogs to be off leash at any point during the dog walk.
Got it. Okay.
So maybe they do, maybe they don't. That'll be a checkbox. It could be yes or no, but usually it's a checkbox.
Okay.
And essentially, it doesn't require them to fill it out, but I'll make it an info card. So you'll always see whether they want it or not in the appointment. Make sense so far?
Yeah. So the other sections, we're not doing an info card because that's something that's non-negotiable, right?
Correct. Everybody who signs up needs to fill out this document, but you have to go through each of these, go into the description and change your business name with your
Yeah, you can change it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So don't have anybody sign this until you finalized it. But yeah.
So basically, when clients sign up for an account, they have access to all their forms. They have access to their...
Yes, to the forms that you make visible. So if they're invisible, you can attach them, and then they will see them. The attach option is in the forms module and in the client profile or the pet's profile, because pets can also have forms attached to them.
Yeah, and you have a video, right, on what it's like for the client.
Yes, essentially, yes. So, right. So essentially, I'm just copying all this stuff. Then at the end, there's going to be like e-signature, and that's the best way of approaching this.
Okay. So what are the forms when?
I don't know if this is all true, by the way, all this stuff.
Yeah, no, I'll go over that.
Okay.
Just for me, it's good to see what you're doing. And then so when people click on my book button, or do you want to finish that first before I?
No, ask, go ahead. This is endless work for me.
Before, let's say, so the book button, how does that work for an existing client? Like when they click the book button, it makes them sign into their account?
If they're not a customer,
so
then it'll ask them to sign up.
Okay. So if they put book button,
if you allow them to sign up, like
they will either sign up or sign in, right?
Correct, but it doesn't need to sign in. It'll keep their session. So sign in is only if they're using a completely new machine that the system doesn't recognize.
Okay.
It'll ask them to sign in to recognize that new machine as part of their, devices that they use.
Okay.
But if it's their current device or previously used device that they use the book and log in, it's not going to send them there. It's going to take them straight to the booking experience.
So it will take them straight to the calendar.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, not the calendar, but the booking.
Oh, like to book either dog sitting or dog walking.
Correct. So we have all these. Your business name is not responsible for. I think it's probably just part of this.
Oh yeah, it's probably part of that.
Terms. Oh, we're almost done here. Terms. And then by signing below, I have read the above. Signing below, I agree to the above. All right, so the client agrees that he or she has read this agreement. Okay, fine. So see all this stuff? Really all you need in this agreement is this piece, because we mark the date and everything.
Okay.
So it's going to be something like this, e-signature. Okay. And then by entering my name, first and last name, okay, and or email or an agreement to the terms. I agree that I have read this agreement in its entirety and fully understand and accept its terms and conditions. Okay. Required. And staff can't fill that out. And save. All right, so we save that. And everyone sees it. All your new clients see it. So we switch to the pattern review here. And if we, the client, now go to our forms, there's the service agreement.
Oh.
And that's what it looks like. And then we put in like test, save.
Is the service agreement the same as policies?
No, policies are usually rules that you follow to maintain order. So there may be agreement to follow the policies or whatever, but that's not necessarily the same. So this is a submission, and I can't make changes to it as a customer.
Okay.
Right. the reason why I can't make changes is because if we go back to the manager's view here, to the forms, the service agreement, it's submit once. See?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this vet release, and let's implement it, okay?
Okay.
Attention veterinarian person. I hereby authorize to bring my pets to your veterinary hospital, ... at this address. Okay. By signing, so this is the pet owner signing this ahead of time. You print out this form and you show it to the veterinarian, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we're going to implement this.
I mean, I wish I had more content and more.
Yeah.
Better questions, but.
All right. So let's actually add a veterinarian release form, and it's per pet, I presume, right?
Yeah, I would do per pet probably.
And so it's visible per pet. It's not submittable by the website page. It's internal. So they go to their forms, ... right?
All the forms, like the pet forms, should be per pet, right? They should be filling out one for every pet
Yes.
that they have, even if it's like mostly the same information. Like
correct, because old dogs, young dogs might have different directives for what to do when they come to a veterinarian. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to start setting things up with the attention, and then the client has to fill out the veterinarian information. So attention, what is this? I'm sorry, that should have been a text box actually, not a section. So text box, attention, and then it's required by the client to fill out. So this is the client filling it out. So you want to make sure that the staff doesn't fill it out.
A section is just a block of text. It's not.
Yeah, it's to visually make things easier to read, right? So I want to make sure that it's the client who's filling out each and every field here, not the staff member.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a legal agreement, right?
Okay.
And of course, for all these forms and documents that you do, it's always recommended that you review it with your legal. So far, I haven't heard anything to the negative of these experiences, and so but it's always important for us to mention that.
Like, meaning I have to get a lawyer?
Well, you might want to check it with them. Whatever is implemented, you might always want to check it. Just like these agreements that you receive, you always want to just double check with your lawyer to make sure that they're covering you. They're standard, so I don't see much to worry about. But it's just one of the things we always mention, just in case. Because I'm not a lawyer, for example. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Maybe I might misspell it for you, and I'm just helping you out to set it up. But it's always good to make sure.
When I have them review it, can I have them review it from my website, or do I just give them
Yeah, you can have them review it from your website, or give them a client experience and see what they fill out. And,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. But it's always important for us to mention that.
Yeah, especially in California, it's a sue state.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody sues everybody out here.
Exactly. I hereby authorize okay. So I'm going to modify this a bit. I hereby authorize happy, floofy pets, right? To bring my pet to your veterinary hospital, and then they fill in the veterinary hospital, essentially, and it's required. Okay?
Okay.
That's the next thing. And then and then same thing. At. And to have you provide medical care for whatever treatment may be required as determined by you. I'm just going to add that separately. Okay. And then I'm going to make that a checkbox. Required. I give you authorization to provide medical care for whatever treatment may be required as determined by you. Okay. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but this makes sense. But always double check with somebody with within that profession.
Okay.
By signing this, I assume. Okay. This is the 24-hour. Assume that upon my return, payment all services rendered. If the above veterinarian is not available, this is the alternative one, right? It's a useful clause there. By signing this, I assume all financial responsibility upon my return for payment of all services rendered. Actually, this is actually better. This section. Actually, no, more of a checkbox. Required. Okay. Because this is kind of seems to me like these are two separate things.
Yeah. By checking this.
Okay. And then really this is the description of this field. So let's go back in and describe it. Okay. Seems like they split it. So to the following or the nearest emergency veterinary clinic which can assist in my pet. Okay. Signed, dated. We don't need this part of the form because it's two-dimensional, right? So you would pull in your dogs here, but here we're creating a form for each pet. So there's no need for that part. So we add an e-signature. E-signature, say by entering my first and last name above, name, I something, something, something.
So how does the system know, like, so when they're going to fill out the vet release form, it's for that particular pet, do they click it out like from the pet profile?
So say one more time.
So if we're not putting if we don't have a field in this with the dog's name and all that, how does it know that this is for this form is for
that pet?
For a particular pet?
Oh, well, you'll know because they don't have it filled out. So for example, the customer, so I just saved it, right? If I edit Hugo, the pretend pet's profile, I shouldn't edit him, I should view him. When I view him, there's a section for forms. And as you can see, the release hasn't been submitted.
Okay, so each pet will have all of these forms on
Yes.
it. Got it.
That's correct. Very good question. Yeah.
So even, let's say there are 3 dogs in a household.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to complete a contract for each pet?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I got it.
That's a good thing because, well, at least based on best practices from what I hear, old dogs might have different instructions than new dogs.
No, but the contract itself, the agreement, isn't the agreement like pretty...
The services agreement is just once for the client. The veterinary release form is for each pet.
So for the service agreement, they don't have to...
Just once for the service agreement.
Ah, okay. So if they had 3 pets, they don't need to fill out a service agreement for each.
No, unless you want them to. That doesn't. That's not the prevalent approach.
Okay.
But you could. So we have a service agreement established. We have a veterinary release form established. I think you're set, unless I'm mistaken.
I think the key release forms.
The key release, right.
And then I have a separate intake for dog walking and pet sitting, I think.
Do you? I see. So that's the one we based on when we set up the profiles.
Oh, okay.
That's the key release. We can make it a document. And then this looks to me like something. Is this something that might be changing more often? No, it's not. It's something like it's an agreement. So let's add a key release agreement, right? Or what do we call it? Key agreement?
Key release.
Release. One-time submission, visible for them to fill it out. Okay, and let's start designing that in. So I'll add a section. Then I have provided
you did
the
a
following keys.
section, and you only put the title, because it's a title. But how would it show up as centered? Like, can you? So when you?
No, it wouldn't. Well, the visual appeal of the forms is coming soon.
Okay.
Functionally, they work beautifully. Okay. We're still working on that part.
And the visual when they print it out.
Mm-hmm. It still looks beautiful. Like when you print it out, it looks good. It's just some people want like all kinds of different visuals as part of the experience of the form. And we're working out the specifications for that.
Okay.
Yeah. I have provided something, the following keys on. So I think in this case, we have yes, no, yes, no. Okay. So I think it's going to be a section. I have provided the following keys. And then the first one will be a multiple choice for front door keys. It's not required because really maybe they didn't provide it, right? So it's yes, no. And then the next one is backdoor keys. Multiple choice. You see what's going on here, Lisa?
Multiple choice.
Yeah. Yes, no.
Okay.
So I'm adding these forms.
Is that that's not the same as checkbox? Nope. Checkbox is if you agree to something.
Checkbox is when it could be a check. Sometimes people use yes, no for that application as well.
What's the difference between multiple choice and checkboxes?
Checkbox is one of those things where you don't have to, like if you set it in a certain way, you don't have to check it. And that just naturally means no.
So it's more like, so.
You can apply it to your situation. You can apply multiple choice as well. But sometimes it just takes, like, it's just not natural. Sometimes like one user experience might be better than the other.
Okay.
When you're doing documents, right, there's no yes, no. Most of the time you see kind of checkboxes in traditional documents, right?
Yeah. So multiple choice means they have to check one of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, forms can be controlled. Different parts of the forms can be controlled by different people. So, for example, number of total keys in pet sitter's possession. This is something that the clients should be able to see, but not change. See?
Yeah. And
minimum value can't be negative, so 0. Okay, default value is 0 until you increase it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is like for office use only. Right? And because this is changing, we can't make this a one-time submission because once it's submitted one time, it can't be updated.
Got it.
Description of keys and keychains. This is something that the client can add, and let's make it required. Or not. I don't know. It depends. I'll make it required for now.
Okay.
But is that you describing it, or well? I guess the way I set it up is both sides can set that up. In the event,
now that you mentioned the change for the contract, for example, if let's say we do an addendum, how does that work if it's a one-time?
Good question. You delete it, and then you have them re-sign it with your changes.
Got it. Okay.
Because you can still do stuff. It's just they can't.
So they have to sign a new contract.
In the event that backup keys are needed, they are located. So I kept it as optional. I agree to the following terms. Keys. Okay, so maybe a section. So you need to put your business name here as well.
Okay.
Checkbox. Required. I would actually make this not one time, but they can't actually submit it without agreeing to this stuff, by the way. So it's not like one cannot prove it as long as we enforce this. Oh, not enough space. I am aware that will not label my keys in any way that will make them identifiable. Okay. I think what I'll do is I'll put that in the description here instead. Okay. That's required as well. Okay, so then we do this. That's required. Oh, these are all required, okay. That's quite a long key document. Might get cut off though, yeah, it's too much.
I might find a simpler one.
That's fine. It's just for you to experience, how to implement it.
Yeah.
Using our current tool set.
So I can have as many forms as I want in my forms.
That's right.
Until a client has filled one out, they won't really see it on their dashboard. Or can I just have?
See it.
Can I just create a form library and then?
Oh, yep, and then you attach it. So if it's invisible, you just find the profile and there's an attach option under their forms.
I can make them invisible. So I can create a form library and make it invisible.
Correct. Now, what's your hand delivery or certified return post service charge?
I have no idea.
Do you want to keep this or leave it? Leave it out.
Hand delivery.
Might be overkill.
I probably would charge 50. I think I've seen that in other. They charge like $15 or $20 sometimes for like a key, like key pickup and drop off. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I've seen people like. If keys aren't available at the meet and greet, they charge a fee if they have to come back and pick up the keys.
Okay, so do you know what that fee is?
We can do $15 because I'm not taking clients that are too far away from me.
Okay. So it's like hand delivery or certified return postage, or just a service charge for keep. Okay.
Yeah, just a service charge. I think we can.
I agree to pay a $15 service key delivery service charge. When pickup or pickup service charge.
Key delivery or pickup.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you charge it using the billing system.
Okay.
Okay, so this is what that looks like. And I'm not going to make it a one-time because, well, key releases change.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go here, edit it, just like that. And it's visible.
Visible.
Okay, so
right?
It's visible. Yeah, it's visible on their thing. Otherwise, see the visibility. If it had an X on there, then you'd have to find the pet or the client where the form belongs. Like this pet, for example. You go to their form section, and then there's an option to add a form. You can add all the ones that are invisible.
Got it. Okay.
Same with clients, same with workers.
When you add it, it will just be visible for that pet.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, I think the form thing is starting to make sense now. Like, I mean, how they all connect and how the client would have access to it.
Correct. Glad to hear it.
At first, it was very confusing how it was all gonna like come together.
Well, it had to be a little bit, right? Because there's just so much that you can do with the system.
Yeah.
But we try to make it a small bump. How's your comfort level with taking that on and finessing it? You'll have to go through these and edit them and change it to your company name.
I'll go through them. When they first sign up, they don't have to fill out the contract right away, right? Like, what is the process?
No. So right now, the way you're set up is clients fill out their information, and then for each pet they add, they fill out that form, the profile form.
Yeah.
Probably in this summer, probably in a few weeks, actually. So that's July 2020. We're implementing additional business rules where you can enforce certain of these forms to be filled out, but the rules will not necessarily be just, when they sign up to become your customer. It could be before a certain booking or other scenarios where they are more applicable to be filled out. For example, vaccination enforcement is very important for a lot of businesses when it's being asked for, because they don't really care if somebody's pet isn't vaccinated if they're not going to be serviced in a year from now, up to a year from now. So they really care about the vaccinations, maybe at the time of booking, for example. And so different forms will be enforced at certain times, depending on when it makes sense.
Okay.
Does that help explain an answer?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the meantime, customers have access to their forms anyway. Pet owners, they go to their dashboard and they have forms up here under quick links, and they can, the ones that are visible to them, not the one that, also the ones that you attach to them that were invisible but now aren't. They're here and they can tell if they've been not submitted yet or not. So can you. It's viewed by everybody who has access. So everybody can you, your workers, if you give them permission.
Let's say the service agreement wasn't filled out yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you know that before booking a service? Or would you just email the client and say, please complete the service agreement before our schedule?
Yeah, you use the messaging capability within the appointment. Their profile shows that, whether or not a service agreement has been filled out. That, of course, is just temporary because based on what I mentioned earlier, it's going to automate enforcement of the service agreement at the time of their booking. So it wouldn't even come to you until they filled it out.
Okay.
Yeah. But for now, just double check by looking at the profile.
They don't have to sign a contract for every single booking, right?
That's correct. And so that's why we're finding that there's businesses, they can have 20 documents and each one might apply. We have folks that do horses and chickens, and some of those documents only apply to chickens.
Yeah.
So it's getting to that functional level, which is why we focused on that versus the look and feel of the forms. But we're pretty much done after these business rules, and we'll start working on the look and feel as well.
Okay. So in the forms, we won't be able to add our logo and our business name?
The forms don't usually have logos. Usually it's the bills that we send out that have the logos on them.
Okay.
Forms kind of look like this. We're logged in as a pet owner, so let's look at the service agreement.
Well, I have a question for the
So
invoicing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sure. That's the form. That's the form, by the way.
So how will they know that it's? Oh, because the name is all over. Okay.
Yes, it's the formal document. There's their signature and it's timestamped and everything. So when you print it out for your reference filing, it's formatted so that it's just like a nice standard kind of document. There's no bells and whistles around it.
And then I had a question for invoicing.
Invoicing, yes.
Why do we need to invoice people when don't they generally pay at the time of booking, or they need to pay before their appointment?
You can do all those things, but in your line of work, you typically what I see is a bill is sent after the job is completed versus at the beginning. However, the bill is like clients should be able to see the bill, right?
Yeah.
At some point, maybe it's in their history or their invoices listing, or you send it to them when it's appropriate. But then the bill would have your logo on it.
Yeah.
And your footer, by the way.
Okay.
And some header functions too, because we operate in other countries, and some countries need some specialized business information that the pet business has to add in the header of the invoice.
Okay. Do you have clients in the Philippines?
I think so, yeah. Indonesia, Philippines, Australia, Middle East, United Kingdom, US, Canada. Just remember, any document that's potentially a legally binding document, for example, it's always good to double check with your legal